So, I have often seen in the Legacy of Cain community the take that Cain's survival at the tail end of Defiance is a bit cheap. And I'm gonna talk about that and why I disagree with that take. Why I think it's actually perfectly well set up, though being a convoluted story, and Defiance, of course, introducing so many more moving parts to the story already. And of all the 5 games, it's probably the most contrived with the time travel stuff. So there's a lot of things that you need to remember and take into account and think about the lore. So it really is a lore story for crazy people like myself and Legacy of Cain obsessed nutcases. So I'm not saying that if people were confused or flabbergasted by Defiance, that no, you're just wrong, screw you, you're dumb, or whatever. No, it's just that the story itself is kind of made for people that it's made for, I guess. But I'll attempt nonetheless for maybe fans who haven't thought about it to this extent and explain why I believe that Cain's survival and resurrection is actually much more interesting and more well set up than I guess what I've heard some people complain about. So yeah, let's go. So in Defiance, we learn for the first time, really, maybe you could have sort of implied and guessed that that's probably what was going on. But Defiance, clearly, we learn that Cain guards the Heart of Darkness inside him. Mortanius used the Heart of Darkness to create Cain, to set prophecy in motion to redeem himself from overthrowing the pillars and this and that back in the ancient era. So, with that, we also learn that Cain is very much not a typical vampire. Not only is he not a typical, historical, ancient vampire like Vorador that was created directly by Janos Audren, or this and that. No, he is a necromancy-driven creature. He's a creature created by necromancy. So, Mortanius turned Cain with the Heart of Darkness through different means than typical vampires are created. So, if vampires are undead, Cain is kind of undead squared, if that makes sense. And of course, this is just fantasy speak, but it is consistent within the series. So Cain is kind of different there. And which is also why he explains that Mobius hates him so passionately, because he's the first vampire and also balance guardian in all of this time, and that sucks for Mobius. So the game makes sure to sort of set up at least those viewpoints of different characters and motivations in that sense, but it's pretty clear. Okay, so Cain is different from the very start, but also he's not free from the Wheel of Fate. If you want a little bit more about the Wheel of Fate and that mechanism and all that stuff, check out my previous video on the Soul Reaver paradox and the mechanics of how that works, and just a deep dive I made to try and sort of theorize and play with the concepts. So that will be in the description. But yeah, so Cain isn't free from the Wheel of Fate. No undead creature is in Nosgoth, because they are temporarily free from it in the sense that they are undying in natural senses, but they can be killed. Some easier, some harder, of course, but you can kill vampires. So we've seen in Soul Reaver 1, the vampires are reigning Nosgoth. Elder God hates that because he cannot feed, he cannot satisfy his parasitic urge, because vampires don't die naturally, so somebody needs to kill them. And it's also kind of convoluted, so it's also a bit of a complex mechanism how that works, because vampires in Soul Reaver 1, if you kill them and leave their body, their souls will return, and they're just very nature sort of resists the Wheel of Fate. So Raziel goes around and kills all of them under Elder God's command. So the same thing extends to Cain. Mobius, the Elder God, they all want Cain dead. He's a problem to them. But they also know that the only thing that can truly kill him is Raziel with the Soul Reaver. That's made explicit even in Soul Reaver 2, and then of course it's fully confirmed in Defiance. In Soul Reaver 2, there are conversations where Raziel is saying, like, why is everybody so hell-bent on Cain's death, and specifically me being the one that kills him?
And what about Cain? You're leaving your core behind.
You kill him if it's so damned important.
He even at one point kind of snarkily remarks, well, you kill him if it's so damned important. That's the thing. The only thing that can kill Cain is the Soul Reaver, because he's a necromance created vampire that's kinda special in that sense.
I may carry the instrument of your destruction, but I too have taken a chance in coming here. Or haven't you realized? You bear the only weapon that can kill me.
So, the only thing that can kill him is the Soul Reaver blade that would consume him and finally return his soul to the wheel. But the only thing that can do that is Raziel, who again has free will, and he can actually choose that because he's free from determinism. So that's why Elder God, through Mobius, manipulate Raziel, because they know he's the only person that they cannot see his path. Like, everything else is predetermined, except for Raziel. Which is why the prophecies are so confusing, because both races in their ancient times have looked through the time used, the chronoplast, and have tried to figure out, okay, there will be a person that will unlock all this stuff and help the vampires. But then there's going to be another thing that's going to do the opposite. Well, whoa, who's what the hell? And they cannot create a clear prophecy because Raziel is free from the Wheel of Fate. He's got free will. So that's why Raziel is both of the champions, and he does fulfill both prophecies, because for everything else you can make a relatively easy prophecy in terms of these ancient races using the chronoplast or seeing the future. If it's all predestined, they can see a lot of stuff, but they cannot see Raziel. It's confusing. Like, I imagine that as looking through the time thingy view, the time window, and seeing one thing, and then as soon as you blink, it was something else, and then you blink again and it's a completely different thing, and you're like confused, what the hell? But the only consistent things is somebody, a creature of this kind of description, is gonna help the Hilden, and this kind of creature of this kind of description is gonna help the vampires, and it's confusing to as who it is. But that makes sense because Raziel has free will, and you cannot see his predetermined path because there is no predetermined path for Raziel. And again, in the previous video about the Soul Reaver paradox, I talked about specifically like Raziel's nature, where though he has free will, when he time travels, he does not necessarily know when he's playing according to history or when he's actually changing stuff, which in Soul Reaver 2 was a nice like visual cue that was very visible when everything is starting to change and the room is sort of, the space-time continuum is like moving and having a spasm, and that's when Raziel is changing stuff. So that's the predicament of like Raziel's whole prophecy stuff, meaning that the vampire race created the Blood Reaver, what ends up being the Soul Reaver blade, as a weapon to consume their adversary's champion, which is totally in line with ancient vampires' culture and myths and thoughts, where they serve the Wheel of Fate. The worst thing that you could possibly do to somebody is liberate them from it or imprison them in that sense. So the Soul Reaver blade is created to imprison their adversary's champion within the blade, endless time of torment and no connection to God, to liberation in the Wheel of Fate. But they have no clue that also the same person that they're trying to imprison is technically the vampire champion as well, because of Raziel's free will, so nobody knows what the hell is going on. So, in Defiance, when Raziel and Cain are so perfectly pitted against each other, Cain does not want to fight, but Raziel needs the Heart of Darkness to find the answers from Janos. And they fight, and Cain also explicitly states in that scene, "Or haven't you realized yet, Raziel? You bear the only weapon that can kill me." And what does Raziel proceed to do? So again, think Raziel is free to change things. That none of this is predetermined. Mobius does not know what's going to happen. He hopes that is going to happen. Elder God hopes that Raziel will kill Cain, but they do not see it because they do not see Raziel's actions, just ripples of his potential actions. And Raziel, he quote-unquote kills Cain, but not with the Soul Reaver. He takes out his heart. That's also not his. So there was never a reason to think that Cain would not be able to survive without that heart. He's a necromancy squared creature. And Raziel, if he consumed him into the Soul Reaver, that would have been Cain's definitive death. But Raziel didn't do that. And now, think about this. Why this works. Cain returns from the demon dimension. He's heartless, literally. Goes back. Raziel finally sacrifices himself into the blade. Creates the Soul Reaver. And at the same time, his future self, the imbued, pure Wraith Blade, dissipates into Cain, healing him. So he kills and saves himself in the same very moment. Meaning that the only actor, the only way to kill Cain no longer exists. That's it. Raziel is not... He sacrificed himself. He's dead. Bam. Checkmate. Cain is free from the Wheel of Fate. Not temporarily, permanently. And also, he's got the two Soul Reavers, literally, with him. Raziel in the blade, and he himself has got all the souls of the previous brethren and the purified Raziel within him. He is literally now free from the Wheel of Fate and free to change time in any way possible. He's got the Soul Reaver paradox within him. So that totally makes sense why they couldn't see Cain returning. And they were like, oh crap, oh shit. And Elder God now, from this point on, has no clue what Cain will do. There's no chance for them to see anything. Cain is truly free. He did not die when the heart was taken out of him. That's not the way to kill him. Consuming of Cain's soul with the Soul Reaver would have been the only way to have killed him. Raziel did not do that. Not only that, he sacrificed himself. So Cain is now fully free. That's it. Boom. To me, that's legendary. That's great. And now, Cain can actually time travel and try to kill the Elder God to destroy the source of determinism, and literally everybody would have free will. But we don't know how exactly that would have happened and worked, and that would have been the future of the series. But ending on Defiance's note is totally fine. I believe that all the clues that you need are in the games anyway. So yeah, to me, the Cain's nature as Scion of Balance and him surviving that thing is not cheap at all. It totally makes sense, and it's been set up in the games. Raziel just did not kill him with the Soul Reaver, and also then he sacrificed himself. There's literally nothing or nobody to kill Cain, and Cain's not gonna suicide himself. That's it. Boom, he's free, and he's got the Soul Reaver paradox within him. So yeah, that's it. I hope that clears up stuff for people who are into the lore but haven't dug deep as some other people like myself. And hope you enjoyed it. That's really all I've got to say this time. Thanks for watching, and take care, guys.